Dun, 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 dun. Welcome back
Mm.
to Dogging It, Hotel
So,
Edition. I'm in the hotel. What's up, Melina?
where you at, man? Besides getting on my nerves 2 seconds into the show.
So my daughter has a gymnastics meet in kind of North Arizona tomorrow. So we kind of drove halfway, and we're in way North Phoenix, and we're gonna go the rest of the way tomorrow morning. So I got to be up early and
How
gonna watch
far did you
gymnastics all day.
drive?
Which, by the way, super tough sport to cheer on your kid because you're there for like 4 hours. You're sitting on hard bleachers, and they perform all of about 2.5 minutes worth of stuff. So by the end of it, it's like, wow, I sat here for 4 hours to watch 2.5 minutes of my daughter compete. So I don't know.
How far did you drive before you got a hotel?
Just like an hour, hour and 15, and then we're going to drive an hour and a half in the morning.
That's not. No, that's you just get up early for that, son. You don't run a hotel for that. You just get
Well,
up
I
early
use
and drive.
points, and plus it's fun for her. It's like, oh, we get to go to a hotel, and we
I
went
can
to the
see
pool, and I didn't realize Mom did her hair, so she couldn't get her hair wet. So I had to like stop. Like, thankfully, I thought of that at the last minute because there's no way I could do her hair tomorrow. So
you would have been in hot water, son, if that happened.
yeah, totally. So anyway, excited for a few things going on. There's a lot of stuff going on in pool this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. And after this meet, I'll be home tomorrow afternoon, and I don't have a lot going on. So I'm going to watch a lot of pool this weekend. And, you got the Predator event in Michigan going on. You got Jason Shaw's event out there in Connecticut. And right on the heels of those, you have the U.S. Open. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Melina, you've been wanting to do this show for a while. What are you most excited to talk about for the U.S. Open draw?
You know, some of the best players on the planet are going to be matching up. It may be a little soft early on, just kind of browsing through the bracket a little bit, but we're going to go through it. And I'm really just excited to see how, because they get to play 2 rounds, just how that second round is going to shape up, because that's going to be vital for a lot of these players, right? That's where you're going to be able to not only, figure out how you're playing out there, but more importantly, can you survive the day? So I think there may be, I think some won't. I mean, I know some won't, but I'm excited to kind of see who may not.
That sounded like something I would say, Mr. Obvious. Some won't survive. Yeah. Yeah. Some won't survive. In
Well,
fact, there's going to be a lot of players not win this event.
in terms of like, players you would expect, that's the thing. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I know when Matchroom released the players' names and they had the side that was seeded and the side that was unseeded, you and I immediately picked out some names on that unseeded side that said, hey, there's going to be some first round matchups that are going to be intriguing to watch because there were good players who were unseeded. And so it's going to be kind of, cool to watch. So, hey, want to thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys in there. Dom, Robert Reese, Paco, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the support. Do us a favor, hit the share button, and yeah, let's get down into it. Mike, what do you got so far with the first round? Do you want to put it up there? You want to kind of go through it?
Yeah, let me turn this off, and then we'll bring this up here. So this is, you guys can check this out from Matchroom Pool. Actually, this is the wrong area that I'm in. I'm not even queued up, ready to go. I'm
Oh
talking
man, I
already.
was just about to compliment you on how well you're handling technology lately and directing the
Hold
show.
on, hold on. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. There it is. There it is. So Matchroom Pool, you guys can get the draw. This is the area number one seed overall, reigning defending champion FSR. Kind of a soft spot that he's in, but deservedly soft spot, just given the fact that, of course, he's not only the reigning champion, but also the number one points earner over the last year plus.
Well, and with the quality of field that we see here, even a soft spot isn't that soft. By the time he gets to the third round, he's going to have to, well, assuming that he wins his first two, which he looks likely to do, he's going to have to face a decent player. It's going to be either Mickey Krause probably, or maybe Gangflot, who we know has been playing pretty well lately. So, by the time he hits the third round, he should be playing pretty well, and he'll have to play pretty well at that point in the tournament.
Well, I don't know what's the how would you rather do it, right? Would you rather face some tests earlier on, just to kind of see, where you are on the radar, or have a couple of matches to really get going, and then you can see, in that third round, you're really going to be up against it, because like you, I expect Mickey to, make work of his first round opponent, but I do not expect Mickey to get past that second round, whether it's Yanni or Gangflot. So that'll be the ultimate test for Francisco, to see if he can make it through the single elimination undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think you don't want to play your first tough match in an elimination match, right? So, and I think the way the bracket lines up from top to bottom, I don't really see that happening, right? Nobody's going to play a 650 player, uh, you know, at the single elimination stage of the tournament. They're going to have a test before they get to that stage, and then hopefully the better players are going to prevail, and they're going to go into that single elimination stage feeling good, knowing that they've already passed at least one of the tests. I mean, we've seen it in this format. To me, this format is really tricky. We've seen so many great players play well in the preliminary rounds and get to the elimination round. It's like something clicks, and it's like, man, it's harder now. You have more pressure on you, and then they're playing great up until that point. Then they lose a match and they're out. So,
yeah, Francisco's a bit of a question mark. We saw his medical, issue come up. I don't even know if he's here in the States just yet, and the tournament starts in a few days. So him having kidney stones, he's not going to be like the rest of these guys, where he's going to have a couple of weeks to kind of get his break dialed in, and just get really comfortable being here in the States. Now, having that cushion of the first two matches is certainly going to be a plus for him. But I'm gonna go against the grain here. I'm picking Gangflot to upset Francisco in that third round.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. Even with FSR coming off, the illness, I don't see him losing early on in this tournament. I think he has his first loss later in the tournament in the single elimination rounds. I don't really see that happening sooner than that.
So you're already saying he will not defend then by saying that.
Well, look, he's got a good chance, right? But with the quality and the caliber of players in this event, you can't pick anybody to defend their title and win this event. Super hard to do. Even the years when Shane was doing it, it was a different field. It wasn't quite the field that we have now.
Well, I'm going from seeing a bit of a chink in the armor when it comes to Francisco's break, that it was so overpowering, and paired that with a kid who's just standing tall and kind of peaking right now in Gangflot. That's where I think it sets up for a perfect storm. No disrespect to the other, at least another two guys out of this, 2, 4, 6, 8-man field, but I think it's, the winner between Gangflot and Yanni, I like making it to face Francisco in a couple of rounds. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, here we are talking like this. John Weber's going to knock off FSR and win go 4 rounds deep.
Hey, listen, if John follows the show, no disrespect, pal, but you're up against it.
Hey, Joseph Smith brings up a good point in the chat, one that I want to bring up as well, and that is sometimes, Mike, when you've been playing a lot of pool, you kind of develop some habits, or you kind of start hitting the ball a certain way. And sometimes just by taking a few weeks off, when you come back, you're hungrier and you're refocused, you get back to the basics. And I think that'll happen for FSR in this tournament. I think he'll play well.
Well, we love rooting for the guy. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of ours. He's a good guy to root for. He's just super positive and upbeat. But, if we're just picking chalk, ain't nobody trying to listen to that. So let's call some upsets. Anyhow, moving on. Next area of the bracket, we got a couple of guys around your age, Joey, and Ralph Souquet and Earl Strickland.
That's hurtful. No, I mean, these guys are household names. They've been around for a long time. Ralph, Paul Song's a good player. This is not a gimme. It's not a gimme for Ralph Souquet here in the first round. I'm not familiar with Earl's opening round opponent, but I would expect both of them to win and play in the second round, and that should be a good matchup there as well. Moving down, I see our buddy Raymond Linares is playing. Looks like it playing an Italian, Simone Zappi. Raymond, I think Raymond's been training pretty hard for this. I like him. I like him in this match. But the one that really interests me is this Wukong Lin against Cash Keaton. We've been seeing Cash Keaton out there in action. We know he's a young guy, probably fearless. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Can he pull off an upset against Wukong Lin, who we know is a tremendous player? I know he's going to have a lot of U.S. fans kind of pulling for him and hoping that he can see it. Everybody likes an upset, and everybody likes seeing a younger, up-and-coming kind of junior-level player pull off that upset. And so I think he'll have a lot of the fans backing him for that matchup against Wukong Lin.
Well, it's all about storylines, and he's got an opportunity to make a storyline, with this play. Myself personally, I think it's just a little bit premature when it comes to this stage. If we were talking about a pool room in the middle of the U.S., it'd be a little different. But playing under these conditions, under the matchroom lights, I'm taking Wukong Lin, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I know the kid's got a lot of fanfare here, and it's deserved.
Cash doesn't have I'm going to make a comparison here, but it's not really fair to Cash, or it's probably not the best comparison. But I remember I was living in the DC area, and Keith McCready goes to the U.S. Open one year, and he plays some young kid from South Dakota, and Keith ends up winning that match, and it's super close. But he comes back and says, "This kid's going to be," and we've heard this over and over again, "This kid's going to be the best player in the world." And sure enough, right after that, Shane goes on his run of U.S. Opens. And I'm not saying Cash is there by any stretch, but he's got an opportunity to step up, play a world-class player, and do some damage, and kind of put his name on the map so that people are talking about him in the future as maybe a potential U.S. hopeful to win a U.S. Open or make a Mosconi team.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as far as making a name based off his play, I think that's already arrived for the kid. He's very well known. He beat Fedor at the Texas Open. I think it was a year ago. I don't want to say that was the kid's coming out party, because he's already been traveling around quite a bit. He's already built up a reputation, on his own 2 feet. But I'm hoping the kid does well. I do. And if he does win, then it's going to be all eyes on that kid going into what I'm hoping. If he were to win that one, win one more, now you got a chance at facing one of the greats, because I expect Earl to kind of put Joey on tilt a little bit and beat Ralph and get a shot at least to make it to single elimination.
Why would you put me on tilt? The further Earl goes in this tournament, like the closer I see him with the USA jersey on, and I'm like, oh, is it going to happen again? Hey, Mike, where did Cash finish in the Texas Open this year? Was he out there?
He was. I don't remember. Maybe just a bit of an afterthought this year, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to the next area, we got looks like Conrad. I'm not even gonna attempt to take a swing at it.
Musician.
Couple of other big names.
Like musician with a J. Musician.
Couple of other big names in Masato Yoshioka and Roland Garcia out of this area. It looks like it's Conrad's for the taking up top, but down below, it's more of a flip than I think people would give it credit for. But by a name standpoint, Roland's going to be the favorite coming out of the bottom.
Yeah, Roland did not qualify for the final 16 at the Predator event in Michigan. In fact, none of the Filipinos did, except Arizona's own Jovan Bustamante, by the way, which you kind of called me out online and posted when Payne McBride beat him in the first round. Well, he came back and just kept winning in that. But yeah, I think Roland is probably.
Well, it wasn't a knock on Jovan as it was so much, good on Payne, because I know how good of a player that Jovan is.
Yeah.
But I see, unlike the Arizonans, we don't give awards for 16th place.
Well, he's in the final 8.
We're not celebrating final 8 in Texas either, buddy. Okay,
yeah, hey, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow morning he plays Fedor Gorst. That will be interesting. So.
Okay, so then Come on now, you know where I'm gonna go.
No, no. Back to
No,
the
no,
U.S.
no,
Open. So
no.
back to
Wait
the
a minute,
U.S.
no.
Open.
Time out a minute. Let's put him on the spot. Let's send us to the back. Come on, Mister Joven is my guy.
What do you want to do?
What you tell me? You tell me, Joe. You
So
tell me.
they're in the final, like the elimination stages, and so at this point they play two races to four. If it's tied 1-1, they play a third race to four, and I think if it gets tied 3-3, then they go to the shootout. So I think they've changed the format such as that. But I can't bet against Federer because I was watching the match today with Federer and your boy Max, and Max is up
Yeah,
2-0 on cruise
yeah.
control, and Federer just like starts making jump shots and turns the whole thing around. So I can't bet against him. I'm sorry. You're asking me to take my guy over probably the best player in the world. Sorry.
I'm
Not
asking a
happening.
guy from Arizona to show some heart. I'm not surprised. Anyway, moving on.
Hold
Who
on.
you
Back
got?
to the brackets. I got Conrad and Roland meeting up in the third round here. That's the way I see it.
I'm taking Yoshioka. Look, there's Mike in the chat. Mike, you want to tell him that funny story from our Patreon post we had on earlier this afternoon?
No, let's not go there.
Let's not. All right. So, it's Conrad's to be had for sure. But Masato, was in the semifinals of the World 10 Ball Championship just a few years ago. I know he's unseeded because of points, but he can really get after it. Roland is barely coming here from being in the Philippines for quite a stretch. Obviously, by seeing in the Predator event, he's not fully comfortable yet, or at least by his standard when it comes to his game. I'm going to take Masato in an upset in that second round, but I still think it's Conrad's to win, and I'm liking him getting out of this area.
Mike, you asked about being tested early on, and I just wanted to point out Elvis Rodriguez he's a high 600 player. So I think that's kind of the perfect match coming out in the first round for a high 700 player like Conrad, right? The guy's going to shoot back at you a little bit. Elvis is going to make some shots. He's going to pocket some balls. And so you're going to have to play to win. You don't want a true test where you're playing somebody real close to your speed, but somebody who can at least play and pocket some balls. That'll be a good test for Conrad to kind of get him going. I think that'll help propel him.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's just the perfect amount where you want to get pushed back a little bit, right? Where you don't
Exactly.
want someone where you're just because, I really don't see it a lot with players. It does happen from time to time, but where they're taking lower percentage shots because they know they're stealing. You
Yeah.
know,
Hey,
uh,
kicking billiards always helping us out in the chat. He said Cash Keaton was 17-24 at the Texas Open this year.
pretty solid there.
Yeah. Not a whole lot to talk about in this grouping that you have up right now, at least for me, Mike. Um, I like Capito, but he hasn't really kind of taken that jump to the next level yet.
No,
Maybe this is the event that he does it, but we just haven't seen that from him. And so he's kind of the player that might have a chance to make the final 64 or so, but then probably is going to lose in 64 or 32, at least if he holds true to his track record lately. But we know he's got a ton of potential. He's a great looking player. Yeah, so we'll just see. But I have to say that Wojciech looks the best out of this whole group here. Wojciech's actually, did you see in the Predator event? I don't want to keep going back to that because we're going to have another show talking about that probably tomorrow. But there were 5 Poles that made the final 16, and 2 sets of them had to play each other.
pretty
So
strong, man.
yeah, so it was Polish against Polish twice, and then one other one, and Wojciech won one, so he's on to the final 8. He's playing my buddy Adam King from Colorado, another player who's also in that high 600 range that will shoot back at him a little bit and give him a nice test early on to kind of get him in stroke.
Well, I think it's pretty. It's Wojciech's to be had for sure. But that guy, that Norwegian guy right above him, is someone that I'm sure he's got a lot of familiarity with. I don't know a whole lot about him other than just scoreboard watching from time to time. But that one might be that one will for sure be a bit more of a test for him than before. But I'm with you when it comes to Robbie. He was kind of like he came out in that same coming out party around the same time as like Yap, right? But then we've
Yeah.
seen Yap just kind of continue to skyrocket, come out with some pretty big wins. He's kind of been underwhelming over the last few years, at least for me. Maybe I don't know if it was so much more of a flash in the pan at the
Yeah.
beginning or just showing like a lack of consistency now. But either way, I like him in that first round matchup. The Vietnamese player, look, if you're traveling all the way from Vietnam to play, you can play some.
Yeah.
So that's the one you're going to want to watch out for. In this area, though, I'm taking Wojciech, and he's got to be the heavy favorite coming
Yeah,
out
I
of the gate.
mean, this was soccer. I'd take Odegaard from Norway because he's a great player for Arsenal. I don't know if you caught that, Mike. Anyway,
Hmm.
soccer
Mhm.
joke. Get out of here.
All right.
Next grouping, kind of interesting here. We got Ko Pin Chung to lead it off. And then from there, we got Corey Deuel and Eric Roberts. Eric's a good young kind of junior player. I guess he's about 20 years old or so now, Mike?
Right.
19 or
Right.
20. And obviously, everybody knows Corey Deuel. He's won this event. Donnie Mills playing a German player in the first round. And then Omar Al-Shaheen, who really, I think Omar's been very quiet, kind of underperforming over the last couple years. Haven't really seen him kind of live up to the form that he had maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And
Right.
so I'd like to see him get back to it because he's a great guy. And when he's playing well, he's a great player, but we just haven't seen it lately.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen him since he got second in the World Championships a few years ago. That was the last Omar sighting we really had, and it seems like ever since then his game hasn't really, shifted back into gear. In that time, there's been a transition, and part of that is a play, and I think it's part of that is what can expose a player who plays like Omar, just because of the way that he hits the ball with such speed, and it's great when you're dialed in and it's very exciting to watch. But if you're a little off and now you're shifting from 4.5 inch pockets over to 4 inch pockets, then you can kind of get more exposed than what you would have a couple of years ago. Now maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but maybe there's something there. But that's where I see kind of have some parallel. Donnie Mills, I don't know the gentleman that he's playing there from Germany. We all know these unknown Germans can play some pool. But Donnie can play 9 ball. I know he ain't gonna be
Yeah.
racking for himself out there, but he can play some 9 ball. Out of the
He's putting runs together before in this tournament. I think did he get third one year? I think he did. I think he might have got third or fourth in the U.S. Open one year. So, I mean, he can come with big events from time to time. And but to point out this German player that we don't know a whole lot about, when we had Moritz on the other day, and by the way, I see John Francisco's comment. Thank you for that. If you guys didn't catch that interview with Moritz, go back and watch it. What a classy young guy that guy is, and a heck of a player. But he mentioned the fact that there's just a lot of great German players that nobody knows about. They haven't traveled outside of Germany yet. So maybe this is one of them, and maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like for me. Those two matchups there in the middle are the ones that I'm going to be keeping most, the like my eyes on the most. More so to kind of see where's Donnie at right now because Donnie made a run at Derby City this year,
Mm.
and Donnie's had some pretty decent finishes, like by his standards. I mean, so. Oh, I take that back. In Derby, it was just in general, but lately it's been more, consistent finishes by his standards. So, where up top with Corey and Eric Roberts, listen, I like the kid. I like the kid a lot. I like his game. He's super smooth. We saw Corey out in Everett just recently, and he admitted he hasn't been playing pool that often. So, or if at all this year. Um, I like Eric to win there. I don't
You
know how much of
do?
an ups. Yeah, 100%. I do. Yeah, I do. I do
Wow.
like the kid. Yeah, I do like the kid to win there.
And look, I
Um,
get it. Corey doesn't seem like he's really into pool right now, at least from when we talked to him in Washington. But if you are going to get up for a tournament, it's the U.S. Open.
no, but
So
listen, you're not. You don't get up for the U.S. Open, Joe. The U.S. like that's not how it works because you
yes,
got the
yeah.
you have to be ready for the U.S. Open. That Corey that I saw a few weeks ago, he ain't ready for the U.S. Open.
That
So
was bar tables. He wasn't really taking it as serious, but I'm telling you, he will come to play. I like Corey in that matchup, and I'll pull a Molina Mike on. You want to bet something? Huh? What do you want to do?
I'll bet it. I'll bet it. I'll bet it. I'm not afraid of it. I'll actually bet it. Unlike you, I listen because you're going off of reputation. I'm
No,
going off of. No, if you aren't, then tell me what has Corey done lately?
Experience. How about that? I don't have to go off reputation. I can go off experience. And you know what? Eric's a great player. He pockets balls as good as anybody, but he needs more seasoning. And you mean
Well,
to tell
shocking.
me,
He's 20. He's a 20-year-old going against a 40-year-old. I
yeah,
mean, that's not.
but what I'm telling you is when they get into those moving games, Corey's going to prevail. Corey's experience will lead him to win this match. Now he'll lose in the second round of Chung.
I don't understand. He's got experience though. He can
Did
move.
your audio kick out?
He's got experience and he can move, right?
Eric
He
can.
ought to be. Explain to me that logic, then, son.
What do you mean?
So
You're
you
telling
think
me that Eric
he's good
Roberts
enough?
is going to
He's.
outmove Corey Deuel?
I'm not saying that, but that wouldn't that hold true in that second round then too?
No, because you're playing a world class player in Koping Chung.
That does what better than Corey?
Everything,
Just like a lot of what Eric
literally
does
everything,
outside of moving.
except maybe rack your own breaking. Ko is going to do everything better than Corey, except read the rack and break the balls appropriately. But you
Joey,
can't,
you can't read
use
you
my
can't read the
logic.
rack. You can't read the rack. How can you
I
read the rack when you're
understand. That's
not
what I'm
allowed to check
saying.
the rack? What are you
That's
talking about?
you're
Read the
proving
rack.
my point. You're proving my point. You can't use the logic of I say Corey's going to beat Eric because of this, and then you say, well, by that same logic, won't he beat one of the best players in the world? No, it's a completely different matchup. You're crazy.
Corey, I like Corey. I like Eric too, and I'm not betting it because of my heart. I've seen the kid play great lately. Unlike Joey, who saw Corey win the U.S. Open however many years ago, and that's why if for nothing else, if you check out our Patreon video from tomorrow, from tomorrow, you at least show Joey having this exact same logic, no matter how off that it may be. Anyhow,
You know when I became a huge Corey Deuel fan when he was playing Shannon Dalton. Might have been at Derby City, and he broke the balls hard, like 3 or 4 racks in a row. And Shannon was like, "What is he doing?" But Corey thought he thought he had that rack red where he could break hard in one pocket, and I think he did win the match. Actually, it's funny.
check out AccuStats. Joey's got the VHSs, that's for sure. All right, up top in this next section, we got Carlo against Abdullah Al-Shamiri, younger co-brother Kopin Han against Nathan Wallace. At the end, this is a pretty stacked bracket, man. Tien, and then you got Grabe down there at the bottom. Who do you like,
Yeah.
John?
Well, I mean, Carlo's coming off
Don't get too out of line picking Carlo now.
He's coming off that big win. So to me, he's a favorite to make it out of this quartile. I don't, other things can happen, right? But I definitely think he's the class of this group, although there are good players there. And so, the Vietnamese player could give him a good shot. The baby Ko could give him a good shot, but we really haven't seen him, step up and win big matches yet. But it could come. So yeah, I mean, I'd have to take Carlo. And
How many games favorite do you think Carlo is over Al-Shamiri?
I'm not too familiar with Al-Shamiri, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm hoping for. So that's what I want you to give me a number.
So I'm taking Carlo. It's probably even. Al-Shamiri plays great.
Jesus, you're brutal. Okay, no, listen. Al-Shamiri can play some pool. Carlo is a different animal, though. Carlo is in a completely separate league than 95% of this field that's here. So obviously he's a class up there. The match below is going to be real interesting to see where Nathan's at. More importantly, because
didn't Carlo win the U.S. Open 2 years ago?
Indeed.
Yeah, I think there was an epic match between him and Chua, I want to say, in the semifinals that year. And then did he beat Yap in the finals?
Yeah, I want to say it was Yap in the final, which was a great final, by the way.
I mean, so Carlo is comfortable in this tournament, probably looking to make a deep run again. I have to think it'd be a huge upset if he loses before the final 16.
Carlo is a Sunday player, you can have 256 guys play on Monday. Carlo's a Sunday player. There's a big difference, and so that's where his mindset's going to be at. That's where his focus is going to be at, and that's where he can get to. We saw Carlo just come off a win out in Rex against the heartbreak that was the final against Moritz. I think that out of the matches that we've seen so far, you talk about big names. This is the toughest matchup for a big name so far up until this point because Al-Shaheen can play pool.
Man, we
Um,
got some instigators in this chat. Rick Glasscock saying that I won't bet with you. Robert Visnak's trying to get us in a fist fight. And Gary Gullett was talking about Nathan Wallace. I was asking you about him before
yeah.
we went live. He's a decent player as well. Could win that first round match.
Uh, yeah, no, 100% Nathan can win this match. This is the one that I'm really like. If I'm looking from a competitive standpoint outside of that Carlo Al-Shaheen match, uh, I like this Nathan and Copenhagen one. I don't clock the youngest Cole brothers game like relative to his brothers. He's not even in the same neighborhood. I don't even think he's a second or third tier player right now at this point. But Nathan, Nathan's on the rise relative to being here in the U.S. I want to see kind of where he's at, and this will be a good test to kind of see, where he's going to be on the totem pole. Down below, you got the Vietnamese player Dang Thien Kien. He's gonna be a favorite coming out of that first matchup, probably like a I don't know six game favorite or so. Dennis Grabe, he's coming off of a pretty decent finish, which I really haven't seen Dennis do a whole lot lately. But I think he went deep in that Predator event. Let me see if I can bring it up here. But I'm pretty
The
sure
one
he
going the
went.
Michigan Open?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just went into the final 16, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I think so. I think he
Yeah.
did pretty well.
Or actually, no, he's in the final weight right now. He's playing Victor in this next round. But to me, just from what I've seen lately, this has to be one of the best finishes that I've, at least up until this point, that I've seen from Dennis in quite some time. He's going to be he better get out of that first one, or he's for sure jumping off that bridge. But if
Well,
that next round matchup is the one where that's going to be
fireworks.
super super intriguing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because Ken is a
when
monster.
I think of Dennis, I kind of think of that player that maybe could benefit the most from like mental coaching. Because he seems like he's a very emotional player, and it seems like he can get down on himself pretty quickly. But in
Talking
terms of
about Dennis.
execution, he knows all the shots, he plays all the shots, he's pretty consistent, and it just seems like sometimes he can get down on himself. But he's certainly
Well,
capable of going very deep.
he's a great player without a
Oh
doubt.
yeah,
And but he can get tilted. He can get tilted. That just he wears it. He wears
yeah,
being annoyed. So
like Mika.
and then it can affect his game. Well, no, Mika's like Mika's like what Carlo is to this group. He's in a different class.
Different
So
class of
yeah,
tilted.
he is. Yeah, yeah. Mika stands tall all on his own in that category. But no, by far. So up until this point of the tournament, this is going to be the deepest eight that we've seen. I think I'm thinking it's going to be two Asian players down there fighting for a spot in the final 64.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may be an upset here, Joe. Maybe. All right, let's
Okay.
let's keep on cruising along here. We got Sanjin up top, Vitali right below, another Vietnamese player who I do not know. Long Duc Dien right below that with a Japanese player who I'm unfamiliar with, and then you got Tyler against Frankie finishing it off there at the bottom. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at the Tyler Styer matchup. We talked about, getting that early test. Frankie Hernandez can play pool. We know that. And
Right.
so Tyler's going to have to shoot back Frankie's going to shoot back at him a little bit. Tyler just got knocked out of the Predator event by Joven. So he's going to be hungry coming into this thing. He's going to want to go deep. He's got, um, his sights on a really high finish in this event. So I like him winning that first round. Second round is going to be tough. The Vietnamese, we've seen what they can do. Great players coming out of Vietnam right now. Kind of cool that they're having a matchroom event over in Vietnam in a few weeks. I was actually looking at what do they call it? The Hanoi
Two
Open.
two events back to back.
Yeah, the first one's a Hanoi Open, right?
No, the
Or
first one is the first one. It's no, I think the Hanoi Open is the second one.
second one, yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking at my calendar and I was like, wow, it'd be cool to go to that part of the world and check out pool. But pool's hot over there right now, and so those guys are are really showing up and playing well in these events. So, um, but I like Tyler making it through to the third round here. On the other side, Sanjin, great player. I see him advancing, and Vitali. Vitali's just a lot of fun to watch. Really good player. Always seems to have good results when he comes to the U.S. And so that's going to be a key matchup there in the second round. I'm really curious to see how that one plays out. I think that's pick 'em, to be honest with you.
Well, between Sanjin and Vitali, you're saying?
Yeah, if it gets to that, I think it's pick 'em.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tale of where you're heading to right now, and I think they're both kind of. I think Sanjin is more stagnant than anything, where Vitali's stock may be on the rise outside of matchroom events. A lot of people may favor him in this matchup, or maybe not favor him in the sense of like a money line or a game line, but just like that's the guy I want to put my money on because he's the player who I've seen play a lot deeper lately. We saw him there at the Texas Open make it to another final against a
Yep.
gentleman who's in that same bracket down there at the bottom and won Tyler Styer. Um,
I
it's
got to question his
interesting.
heart though for chopping the mini tournament with Nick DeLeon and not playing it out. I got to question his heart for that.
Well, he made Nick's whole life by doing that,
Yeah,
So let him go, let him go. No,
unless it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, he shouldn't have chopped that.
it's the Texas Open. I guarantee you it was close. So um, no, but this is we talked about the last area being stacked, man. But this is pretty tough. Yeah, it's different with Tyler right now because Tyler's now not only getting respect, but Tyler now has expectations, and we haven't had that
Yeah,
with Tyler, and I don't even know how long. There's a lot of people who are liking him to do extremely well in this event because of the way that he's been playing lately, and I think all those expectations are completely fair because Tyler has been playing great. I love him in that first round matchup against Frankie. No disrespect to Frankie, but Tyler's gonna win. I think pretty comfortably, somewhere around like maybe a 9-5. Give him the Dolly Parton. In that second round, Long Duck Dien is who I would pick to face Tyler. That's going to be a super difficult test for Tyler, but we've seen him knock off really big names lately. So I don't think this is going to be any test that he can't handle. Up top between Vitali and Sanjin, I don't know, man. I honestly do not know. I think Sanjin should win, but I haven't seen him do a whole lot lately, so I don't know how I can like come to that. So
I think it's pick 'em, but I'll take Vitali. And when you were talking about Tyler Styer, the thing that I kind of thought about, if you go back to that Kremlin Cup that he won, maybe in 2017, 2018, that was like an early victory for him. And I think people expected after that for him to just start winning big events. And it just shows how hard it is to win big events. And so now he's starting to play a lot better. He's in contention in all these big events and finishing really well. I think he's here to stay. We talked about it before, probably the solid number 3 U.S. player. Like if you're looking at ones that are in contention for the Mosconi Cup each year, Bergman's kind of out of the picture, which is a shame. But Tyler's kind of solidified himself in that 3 hole for Team USA. And so he's going to be looking to come out firing in this event.
yeah, and he's not going to lack confidence if he faces a Vitali or a Sanjin. So
Yeah.
that's something that
When you watch him in one of those big matches, Mike, it's almost like he might be fooling himself, but he feels like he should be there, and he's
What
right
are you
in it.
talking about? What are you talking about,
Tyler,
Tyler?
he
No.
never looks like the moment's too big.
No, it's not. No, I take that back because I think he can look like the moment's too big because he gets red like you did on that reel I had the other day.
Well,
You
the
know,
only time I
so
would say that the last time that I saw him where it looked like the moment was too big was that 4 railer in the
look at
Mosconi
that red.
Cup.
Look at that
Which,
red. Look at that
by
red.
the way, that reel you did with me and Moritz, that was ridiculous. You did a filter on that thing. My face was so red. It's
Joey,
ridiculous.
look at you. Hold on a second. Let's take two. Look at you.
What?
That's not a filter, son. This is all natural. Um,
You
no,
jerk.
it's different because I feel like in years past maybe that was the case with Tyler, where maybe he thought he belonged there, but I didn't think his game was there. His game's there. He's got to really like he's got a confidence about it, but it's justified confidence at this point. And
Yeah.
it's not cocky, because Tyler ain't cocky at all. Tyler just knows how he's prepared to get to the point that he's at right now, and now that work is all coming to fruition, and it is all coming to show itself, and he's just becoming. Uh, he's showing a lot more consistency than we've ever seen
Yeah.
in his career, even going back to that Kremlin Cup one. So I think anything short of coming out of this area for Tyler would be a disappointment, but I guarantee you it is not going to be easy whatsoever. So moving along, we got Bader up top, your boy Nick DeLeon, our boy Nick DeLeon, right below that against Finnish player James Davey against Payne McBride, which should be a good matchup. And then at the bottom, it caps off with Fedor Gorst versus Sam Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at. I'm always looking for people I know, friends of mine, to kind of see how they drew, and if Nick gets by this first round and plays Bader in the second round, that's going to be a good matchup. I think Nick can win that, but he's got to play, because we've seen what Bader can do, and we were out there in Vegas when he beat Shane Van Boening, and of course it was the races to 4, but he still beat him, right? So he can certainly play. But Nick's in a good position here. I think if you're drawing in the U.S. Open and you're a 730 couple Fargo like he is, that's a good draw for him, I believe. He can win a few matches and he can get deep. And then
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Nick?
Yeah, probably play Federer in round 3, and then he'll hopefully place in a good spot on a loser's bracket if he comes up short against Federer, which he likely will.
Okay.
The third matchup there is kind of intriguing to me, because we saw James Davey out in Washington. He's like a 715 Fargo. He's a good player, but he's matched up against Payne McBride, the young American, and Payne is coming off a victory over Jovan Bustamante in the first round of the Predator event. So we know that Payne's a good player, and I think both those guys can play, and I think Payne has a shot here of winning this first round match and creating a really good test for himself in round 2.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going out on a limb and breaking some news saying the kid's got a shot, because he's got a shot for sure. He's got and I know James Davey can play.
He's probably a 50 Fargo point underdog, isn't he?
Is he?
I'm gonna look now.
I don't know. I know you got
James
Fargo.
Davey's like a 715.
You got Fargo on speed dial out there, being in Arizona, son. I don't know. Well, looking up top, I don't know that I would say Nick is going to get his wheels greased here. I don't know who that guy is from Finland, but if I don't know you, I want to see how you're playing, and you're not coming over here being a bum. So I think Nick will have his hands full, but if he can survive, it's not going to get any easier. Bader showed a lot of consistency. I think it was just last year, maybe the year before. I don't think he's been quite that same consistent player that we saw then. But it's about what is your B or C game relative to others' A games. Bader's going to be a favorite coming out of the top. He just is. And
oh yeah.
But I am hopeful for Nick, and if he can, he's got a puncher's chance, is what I'll say. Not in the first one, I don't know shit about it, so I can't really say one way or the other. But against a guy like Bader, Nick's got a puncher's chance for sure.
Yeah, so to give you the stats on that, Payne McBride's a 646 Fargo, and James Davey, I think, is a 715 Fargo. So that's a significant underdog. But that's why I said Payne has a chance. And you're like, oh, well, Payne has a chance. Of course he has a chance. But, the stats don't lie, Mike. He's a big underdog. But
if you're gonna go based off of stats, Joey, just like we saw with Savannah Easton, her Fargo had her capped at around a 580. But when I talked to Fargo, they said her last 6 months was playing at around a 630. So that may be where Payne is at, but you don't know where Payne has been at over the last 6 months. That could be having a lot of stats when he was more of a kid and not performing as well as where he's at right now. That's what I'll say.
That's possible. And then, so this next matchup is kind of interesting with Federer and Sam Henderson. Sam, by the way, I believe his Fargo is 713 now. Did you know that?
Yeah, I saw him at Junior Nationals. Kid can play.
I know he can play, but I mean that's probably looking at age, players his age, there's probably not a player ranked higher than him. 713 Fargo.
How old is he right now?
18?
No, he's less.
19,
He's younger. He's younger than that. No, he's younger than that. He's like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
713 Fargo. I mean, that's no joke. But of course,
he may be younger than that. Now that I think about it,
16. His mom's in here. 16.
Yeah. Easy,
And
Tiger. What'd you say about the kid? There's his mama.
No, I say great things about him. He's a 713 Fargo, and one of the things I love is that they're out there hustling and raising money for him to get out to these events, and I think that's a great thing. Of course, this draw for him, it's when you're in his position and you draw Fedor Gorst, it's both like, oh crap, and oh yeah, now I have a chance to like prove something against probably the best player in the world or top 3 in the world. But he could have had a softer landing spot where, he could have been matched up against somebody that was, a little closer to his level. But hey, let's see what he can do. You got your shot against Fedor Gorst.
The kid plays poised. That'll sustain him. In big pressure, he plays the same. Now I know junior national pressure isn't U.S. Open pressure against what'll probably be on a TV table would be my guess, because it's one of the better first round matchups, and we all know how popular that Federer is.
Plus, it's a good storyline, and Matchroom likes that, right? The storylines where
Sure. Yeah.
a younger player going
but
against.
It's not like a feel good story, because the kid can play jam up.
You keep doing that to me. I never said he can't. You keep you're taking a position where it's like, but it's this and he can play. I'm not saying he can't play. Stop doing that to me. You're making it look bad. I know he can play. He's a very good player.
No, but I'm just saying it's not like it is a great story, but he plays well in his own right. Is
He
what I'm
does.
getting at, and I'm not saying it to go and knock what you're saying. I'm saying it's great that he's got this opportunity, and he's got a chance to really give Federer some problems. We've said over the years that Federer's hole in his game could be around this matchroom stage, and while I don't think that's the case so much anymore, I think given where Sam's been heading to, that this is going to be the best matchup of the first round that I'm going to definitely be watching. I don't care what table that it's on.
Yeah, I'd like to find out there. If you're there and it's not streamed, Mike, you got to find a way to sneak us some video.
Oh, I'll be talking to him one way or the other. I'll get there on Sunday. I want to talk to both players before that matchup, honestly. And knowing, just given how Sam's been performing lately, I'm sure Federer knows him and is going to have a lot of respect for him and is not going to take him for granted either. And so this is the one when I saw it pop up. I'm excited to see how Sam is going to stack up against a player like Federer. And if he does go and beat him, which he's got a really good chance, then he's going to be probably the favorite to come out of this bracket, which is going to be a whole. I'm not sure the kid's been in before. Now I know.
Wait a minute.
I know he went deep in like a Predator event, but this is the U.S. Open, and if you beat Federer, you're going to be a favorite coming out of this area to make it single.
Out of these 8?
Yeah, if you beat Federer, yeah, give me, and no disrespect to Payne or Nick or Bader or whoever. I'll take. If he beats Federer, give me the kid. Give me the kid to win the next couple.
Well, I'll certainly be rooting for him.
Without a doubt. All right, moving along. We got Albin in this area. Man, talk about a little bit of a cushion there for him. BJ Ussery down there at the bottom. Joao Grillo, the Portuguese player who just went on a run. I think it was in the Spanish Open.
You said that name pretty well, Melina. I'm pretty impressed. That's my my wife's father's name, and
it's like akin to Spanish,
no, Portuguese is different. It's João. Look. Watch the nasal. It's João. So not bad. Okay. In fact, we were thinking about naming my oldest João after her dad, but then we said no way my mom would ever be able to pronounce that, so we threw it out. So
who do you like? Who do you like facing Albin in the third round?
Well, I tell you who I'm rooting for is BJ. BJ's playing well. I think he beat DeLuna in the tournament recently. So I'm going to be pulling for him. But, BJ is one of those players that just grinds it out, right? He's going to take his time. He's going to, evaluate every situation. And he's looking to play really well here. He's got a lot at stake. If he does well in this event, Jeremy Jones is going to be taking notice, and he might have a chance to get on a team.
Yeah, I think these are that first round, bit of an unknown player. Well, like as far as being Vogue player, bit of an unknown, but I've seen that name quite a bit. BJ lost, I think, today in Connecticut to like a player I'd never heard of from Canada, and so BJ's going to have to do some making up, in the U.S. Open. He's got to get some signature wins. And I think actually in the round after that, he got a pretty decent win. I can't remember who it was against. But anyway, you beat Joao. You get into a match with Albin in the third round of the U.S. Open. Those are the kind of wins that can recatapult you back on the radar, even more so than maybe you think you deserve to be in, which, given his points, he does deserve to be in. But it's about getting these types of W's under your belt to just solidify your position, right? And then have more of an argument leading into the last, whatever it is, like a month or month and a half, whatever it is.
If BJ survives and gets out of this 8, we're going to have a show talking about do we need to consider BJ for Mosconi Cup?
If he beats Albin at the U.S. Open?
Yep, in round 3. So we'll see. But there's a lot of work to be done.
I don't. Yeah, a lot of work's got to be done. It'll definitely be in that conversation. I'll put it like that. But I wouldn't say that I would go out on a limb and be like, give him the jersey, son.
Yeah.
Moving along, we got Mika in this bracket. Chris Reinhold, Joseph Dino from Austin, Yuma Dorner, young German player who can play. Pascal, I've seen that name before, and I want to say he's a young player too. I could be wrong, but yeah. Anyway, down at the bottom, we got Thorsten Holman against Pancake, Sean Santoro. Who do you got coming out of here, Joey?
Well, you see likely matchup with the Germans in the bottom, and I see Reinhold against Mika in the top, and I think that's going to be a really good match right there. Chris seems to be refocused. He's been working on his game, been putting in some time on the table, and Mika's been playing well as well. We saw him. Who did he lose in the finals recently? I want to say I'm drawing a blank. Mika played. I don't remember. But he lost the Turning Stone in the finals to Fedor, right?
Oh, Mika did. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's playing well. Chris is playing more. He's getting back into it. Mika's probably a slight favorite in that, I'd say. But I think Chris could upset him there and make it to the third round. On the bottom, I mean, what can you say about Thorsten? He's just the consummate pro. He's still at it after all these years. I see him making it through to the third round as well.
I ain't there, son. I'm not there at all. I like
taking an upset.
Well, yeah. I just Thorsten's game lately just hasn't been what it once was for me. I know he can have flashes of the world champion that he is, but I haven't seen consistency from him, and I think that kid right above there is going to be the one to win 2 matches in Yuma Dorner. I think that kid's going to win that first round matchup, and I like him beating Thorsten in that second round matchup. That kid can play.
Really?
Up top, yeah, no, I do, and I'm picking him to get 2 rounds in. Up top, Mika against Chris is going to be the obvious second round matchup. I know, listen, Chris is a friend. I like Chris. He's, if he's refocused, great. But Mika's been focused. Chris may be getting back in gear, but Mika has been in a gear for quite some time. He's not one of these older players who, you're hanging your hat on what they did 10 years ago, because Mika is showing form now. Mika is showing form, playing against top level talent pretty consistently. And so for that, I like him against Chris. I'm going to pick the kid again in the third round. But I think Mika will at least win 2 matches here in this section.
It's reasonable.
Looking further ahead, you got
Yeah, is that
Fortunski.
you taking the chalk again, as always?
I picked a kid you never heard
You
of
did pick
to come
Yuma.
to to come out here. What do you mean? And the chalk, I'm picking a guy about your age against a guy around my age. No, I'm lying. Chris is 10 years younger than me, not more.
Chris is funny,
It,
man.
in this section, boy, it's very underwhelming for me. You got it's Miko, Misko and Imran all the way.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with
and
you there.
and to be honest, I think it's probably going to be. Um, I think Imran may surprise some people, but in reality, it's not an upset because Imran has been the epitome of getting to like the round of 32 of matchroom events for the last 2 years. I mean, the
Yeah,
guy is just always there, you know.
I got the same third round matchup, but I got the butcher making it through.
And I'm the one taking chalk. Shocker. All right. The Albanian Besar, Sullivan Clark right below that. Kopinyi at the bottom. Definitely the class of the field, Joe. I know you're picking Ko, as am I. Who can give him some competition between Besar and Sullivan up top?
I like Sullivan Clark. I like his game, just not quite there at the top level yet. That likely second round matchup with him and Basar, I'm going to go with Basar to win that and face Kopinyi in round 3. But I got Kopinyi moving on. One of the clear cut favorites to have a shot at winning this thing. Just such a steady player, such a fun player to watch. And I would not be surprised if he snaps it off this year.
This is what you're looking for as far as the dream if you're Ko. There's really no massive threats in your area to get out of here.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
he's a finisher. He's in that same class of player like Josh, like Carlo, like a Shane. But you're not going to really have to be. You're not going to be facing too much adversity here. And I think it's perfect for him just to kind of get a feel of the table, get the feel of the equipment, get your break dialed in. Because he's going to be doing a lot of breaking. Sullivan, I like Sullivan making it through, winning 2 matches myself. But I don't think the kid can get past like 6.
Hey, I just saw in the comments when we were talking about we were talking about Mika. Jeff Martin said upsetting Mika is easy. Beating him might be a different story.
Oh, that's
That's a
funny
great
actually.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Up top in this section, we got Sky, who's going to be a favorite, winning the first 2 matchups. Down below, your guy Georgie and
Yeah,
Alex Magulani.
Bulgarian. Yeah, I found out about him through Christina Zlateva when she was on the podcast, and she was telling me what a great player he was. And yeah, we saw he just had a good result in the tournament last weekend at Rax, I think. Beat a couple good players. And so I got Georgie winning round 1, facing off with Alex in round 2. I'm going to take Alex to win that one. Love Alex.
It's close, Joe. It's
It's
close.
very close, and he's past his prime, I think, especially in rotation games. But I'm going to take him to make it to round 3. And I got Skylar coming out of that top bracket, although I think he will have to play to get by Demetrius. Demetrius is a good player, low 700s player, but setting up perfectly for Sky to get to round 3, kind of in gear and in stroke.
Yeah, I mean, if you got to love Sky up top without a doubt. That Georgie and Alex one, I'm just kind of like wrestling with the more that I think about it. I mean, Alex is playing a lot more Chinese 8 ball lately, which means his pocketing is probably going to be, pretty dialed in, right? Pretty on point. But that break, as he gets older in age, like all these older guys, the break can kind of get away from him a little bit. So where you got a young kid who he eats, sleeps, and breathes 9 ball. So yeah, flip the coin there for me. And I know a lot of people are going to love Alex because it's Alex, but as a fan, I'm hoping we get to see Alex and Sky play because that'd be a pretty great matchup. You talk about guys with 2 awesome personalities and
Yes.
just joys to be around. Always bubbly, always smiling, always they play up to the crowd. Very got a lot of charm and wit, and just fan favorites, both of them.
So, Mike, I don't know if a lot of people know how we come up with some of our ideas, but usually it's just like we'll think of something and call each other and say, "Hey, I got an idea for this." Like I had a couple ideas in the last couple weeks, and the one I had today, I didn't get a chance to tell you yet, but it was like, what if we had an award from the Dog and It Show where each year we gave out like Pool's Man of the Year, and it wasn't just about accomplishments, but it was about their personality, how they treated people, and kind of what's the one the NFL gives out? I forget what it's called, but maybe it is the Man of the Year. I don't, or Walter Payton Award, something like that. But some type of award like that. And I was like, and thinking at the players that are out there, and immediately these two guys came to my mind, and I didn't even realize at the time that they're playing in the third round. But that type of award for these types of players who are just great on the table and off the table, and great for our sport, because the more of those that we get, the better off Pool's going to be, so I was just thinking that. I hadn't even told you that yet, but I think that'd be a cool idea.
They're saying Walter Payton Man of the Year. I like it, man.
Mr. Congeniality and Joseph Smith. Anyway,
sweetness. Yeah, no, I'm
you don't
with
even
you.
know what to say.
I've been wanting to do some awards like that for a minute, man. Like Match of the Year and player. Without
Let's do that this year. Let's have a year-end show where we do like, Match of the Year and Man of the Year, that kind of stuff. It'd be kind of cool.
No, you're gonna be picking, Rodney beating Dennis Hatch, 10 years ago as the Match of the Year, knowing you, buddy. All right.
Don't give away what we argued about on Patreon. Okay,
moving along.
I gotta pay for that. Okay.
Billy Thorpe up top. Carl Natterberg from Estonia, cruising along. You got Sharik down below. Naoki Oi. I'm liking Billy and Natterberg up top. Sharik and Oi. So who do you got winning those 2 second-round matchups?
Well, Billy went 2-0 in that last tournament. Jeremy says he's playing better. He's looking better. But, I don't know. Until we see it, he is my pick. When I gave you my 5 for Mosconi, he was my 5th pick. But he needs to show it, and he needs to step up here. And an early round loss here would not bode well for him, I think. He needs to go pretty deep in this tournament, or at least play well, right? If he loses to Al-Kaidi and he loses to Fedor, but he played well up until that point.
Take that. You can take that.
Yeah.
For sure you can take that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Against names like that, names who are probably going to be there sitting across from him in December, you can definitely chalk that up as things to take away that are going to be positive. But if you
losing to Estonia's second best player in the second round, probably not good for him. It
might be Estonia's third best player.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Do they have 3 players?
Yes. So Dennis would be up top. Dennis's partner, unless Dennis, buried him somewhere. That kid plays pretty great, and then Carl I'd put right after that. So,
yeah. The bottom part, Shark. Shark is from Singapore. We know what's been going on with them, and Shark can play. He hasn't really broke through and won a big event that I can remember. But I do expect him to win that first round match and most likely play Naoki Oi. Derek Day is a decent player out of Pennsylvania. His dad was I competed against him, Dave Day. But Naoki Oi will win that match and most likely, and go on to face Sharik and win that as well. And so, I got Oi coming out of this group of 8, and I don't think that's really too much in question.
Shout out to Jim Prather. He's one of our sponsors with Moonlight and Billiards. He's the one who's playing Sharik there on the bottom half.
Did I say Shark was going to win? I changed my mind. I think Jim Prather's going to destroy him.
No, listen, I know Sharik can play, and I like him as a person. He's a really just genuine guy, like just real sincere whenever we talked to him out in Vegas. Maybe it was like a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah. You don't like him enough to pronounce his name right, though.
Well,
you don't remember when he told us it's like shark, but with a ick?
Maybe.
Sharik.
Listen, easy, Tiger. Not Naoki always coming off a win off of Copenhagen out there in Connecticut. Now, how much that momentum is going to carry him through, I don't know. He's kind of in a lot of senses like I don't want to say he's like Robbie Capito like we talked about before because Naoki's had more consistency than Robbie has, but it's not like too far fetched from there. Like we have expectations with Naoki where you kind of think of him as a Sunday player, but then you realize that he hadn't really played in a Sunday, and I can't tell you how long. So
I
um,
mean, he's that guy who's just an exceptional talent and a great personality. And so he gets to, when he does get deep in a tournament, you're just waiting for that tournament where he's going to snap it off and do his gyrations and, his interviews, and it's going to be great, but it just doesn't quite get there. And so that's kind of, I think it's just a little bit of disappointment from all the fans that are rooting for him.
it's not even that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's just I don't want to see you lose to guys you shouldn't lose to. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's the bit of a difference there. I think he should be the favorite to come out of this section that we're looking at right here.
Yeah.
In Naoki. Now, whether or not he will or not is a different story. I like Oi. If he can carry that momentum that he's got right now, then look out. And he's obviously very comfortable. He played on everything matchroom related under the sun. So I
That's a
like
good
him winning.
update right there for kicking billiards. Billy's beating Zolnacki 7-4 right now.
Solid, yeah, for sure.
That's a good result.
Well, Billy needs good results. Billy does. So those are for sure things you can hang your hat on. But listen, if Billy can win two matchups and then face Naoki Oi in that third round to make it through to single elimination, it's like we talked about with BJ earlier. And those two guys in particular, more than most, are gonna have to start getting some feathers under their cap because any big win right now for them, just match by match, is going to be massive towards their favor right now.
Yeah.
So um, let's keep on cruising along. We got Jonas from Spain down below that, a Taiwanese player in Tang.
Do you know
Uh,
him, Mike? Do you know much about him?
no, I know a lot of Taiwanese players. I mean, like if I see the guy, I can tell you who he is. Like that's the one. But as far as his game goes, I can't tell you like it. I wouldn't. I'd probably put him if I'm just talking about like Taiwanese players. I'm probably putting him like around maybe that Wu Kun Lin kind of range. With that kind of upside, maybe not as decorated as Wu Kun Lin is.
I mean, he's a great player then.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to me in this grouping,
I just haven't seen a whole lot of them. Is my point.
I like Jonas on the top, and I'm intrigued by that matchup on the bottom. I mean, Kwok is just such a strong player. I find myself rooting against him. I don't know, but I always do because
you root against Kwok. The guy's
only
nice
because
guy.
I know, but he tends to be matched up against players that I tend to cheer for. And so I'm always like, oh, this is going to be the match where he falters and Shane wins or Sky wins, and he just doesn't falter. He's just a very steady player. And it's a tough matchup for Joey Tate coming in. I love Joey. I hope Joey performs well in this match, but he's going to have to play his best pool to get by Kwok in that matchup. I don't see it happening.
Golly, that's probably the rudest thing you said all in your life.
Is that rude?
No, I'm kidding. It's really not.
You're very sensitive when I say anything like that
I'm
about
not.
a junior player.
I'm not. No, I'm not at all. No, because if you're in listen, they may be junior players, but they're playing in a big boy event,
Yeah.
So all fair and listen, Joey's game hasn't been where I thought it was at last year. But it's me gauging him based off of his 10 ball break more than anything, so we saw him go take Fedor to the hill in a 10 ball event just recently, a couple days ago, out there in Michigan. How that'll translate out here, look, we saw him give Shane hell a year ago. What was it, right? About a year ago.
Yeah.
On the TV table. Kwok is a big name. no matter what, it's probably either going to be on table one or table two or on someone's TikTok with about 10,000 people watching. I guarantee it, because
Yeah.
Kwok is as box office as it comes out there in Vietnam. Um, but yeah, Joey's going to have his hands full for sure. Tang versus Kwok in that second round. Jonas is the class up top out of this area. Um, I I pick against Kwok all the time, and then
Yeah,
I'm made
that's what I mean.
I'm made a fool of. But it's just because he's like, it's zero flash. It's very like Warren Kiamko. You know, he doesn't do a whole lot. He just goes with one rail position, very simple. Puts on his hard hat, just goes
Yeah.
A B C D. You know, plays it safe when he has to. Doesn't give any emotion at all, like whatsoever. And just does his job, and then just somehow gets to like event after event. Um, I think I think he's probably gonna. Well, I don't know. That second round is gonna be tough. I like Kwok, I guess, for once, and then he'll probably lose in the second round. Now that I think about it, so,
Now
yeah,
you just jinxed him.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
But who do you like coming out of here, Jonas, and whether it's Tang or Kwok?
You know, I'm taking someone from the bottom half of that bracket, probably Kwok, but maybe Tang, to get by Jonas. I mean, I like Jonas a lot. We had him on the show. Nice guy. Just hasn't really hit that next level, that next gear. And so to me, it'd be a surprise if he does get past the third round here on the winner side.
Who's that? Who's a surprise?
I said it would be a surprise if Jonas got
Oh,
past the third round on the winner side.
yeah. Um, I- against, yeah. I don't know.
You know,
It's a pick. It's a pick. It's close. Well, no. He should be an
it's
underdog.
not a,
He should be an
yeah,
underdog
he's definitely an underdog.
against Kwok. Yeah, against Kwok, he should definitely be an underdog because he's not as decorated as Kwok is. That's for sure. So,
Yeah.
um,
Just
yeah,
not as consistent at this point, but, you know, he
yeah,
could get there.
okay, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. You should at a bare minimum get there in the third round. So,
Yeah.
Hunter Lombardo,
We were
German
talking about
sausage.
Joey Tate, and Robert Visnek said Joey got some booty. I'm like, what Joey's he talking? Oh, he's talking about Joey Tate.
Yeah,
I was like, I got booty.
the joke is just too easy there.
Well, we talked about Hunter. Hunter, he goes all the events. He wins a few matches every event. Doesn't typically get deep in those events, but wouldn't be surprised if I saw Hunter win the first and second round here and get by Jeremy. It depends on how Jeremy's playing. I haven't seen him play lately. I think he probably did. He play in Turning Stone, Mike? He probably did.
He did.
Probably
Yeah.
did pretty well.
I don't remember, but he usually always plays that event. I'd be shocked if he didn't play Turning Stone.
Yeah. So I mean, I think if Jeremy's playing a lot and he's in gear, I probably like Jeremy to win in the second round here. But the safer bet might be Hunter because just Hunter's consistent and he's just,
You finally make a point that makes sense.
thank you.
It took a 75 minutes in. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. It's crazy because Hunter is more consistent. He just doesn't get any respect.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't at all. You know?
Yeah. Because, I mean, he does the same thing pretty much every tournament where he beats, like, he'll beat somebody that he might be a slight underdog to and kind of surprise you a little bit, win his 2 or 3 matches, and then lose to players that he's supposed to lose to. And it just seems like that's the MO there. And, I feel bad saying that because I remember the worst year of pool I ever had was a year where I beat everybody I was supposed to beat and lost everybody I was supposed to lose to. And I remember just feeling so, neutral on that. It's like, it was such a flat feeling. Like I didn't do anything great that year. And I gave myself a goal the next year, not even to win a tournament. I said, next year, I'm going to beat one player in every event I'm not supposed to beat. And I actually did that. And so it was like a mental thing for me. And I don't know if it's that way for Hunter, but he's very consistent with what he does. He just doesn't typically get deep in these big events.
Well, yeah. I think that I hope he does. Not anything against Jeremy, but it's just because Hunter deserves a little bit more respect than at least that I've given him. You know
I'll tell you what,
that's
if he gets
that's
out of
for
this
sure.
8, if he gets out of this 8, he's got respect, and people are going to start talking about Mosconi Cup because that
Well,
would mean beating Jason Shaw.
well, listen, I don't know if it's going to be so much of uh, maybe positive for Hunter as it would be like pulling the red light on Jason a little bit and wonder what's going on.
Well,
You know,
we know
so
it's September, and we know what happens to Jason this time of year. Even if he's not in great form, for some reason this time of the year he heats up. He'll win the international. He'll do well, and he's just this time of year he just starts playing good. It's like he knows December's coming, and he gets in stroke and he plays his best pull. He's got the matchup with Rob Hart in the first round. Rob's a nice guy, Kevin Hart's brother. We all know the story, but Jason should get by that pretty easy, and then he'll have a nice tune-up match against Blaine Barkas.
yep,
Probably in the second round. Blaine's a good
yep.
player, a low 700 player, but Jason's going to go into that third round. I would suspect, and if Hunter or Jeremy, either one of these Americans, if they get through to Jason and they beat Jason, well, now all of a sudden we got to start taking them into consideration for Mosconi.
Well, I don't
I'd say
know, man.
Hunter more
By,
so
by
than
the
Jeremy.
by the time we're done with the fucking U.S. Open, you're gonna have like 18 guys that could be on the
Wouldn't
Mosconi
that be great?
radar. Would
Wouldn't
it
that
be
be
great?
great?
I don't know that it would be great.
Wouldn't that be great as opposed to last year where we had nobody in contention for the last spot except like Shane
Well,
Wolford, who was on the decline at that point,
hmm,
and then Jeremy hand selects Earl? Wouldn't it be great if instead Jeremy had like 8 players that all did well in the U.S. Open, and he's like, man, I'm not sure who to pick. Wolford played great. Blaine
okay, what
Barkas
do you
upset
think is
Jason
more
Shaw, and
realistic to happen then? What do you think is more realistic to have happen?
Jason wins this group.
No, 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 no. The argument you just had about Americans
Oh,
and
I think what we'll see is in the final 64, we'll see about a half a dozen Americans. But then the final 32, we'll see about 2 or 3.
there'll be
And
half a dozen Polish guys in the last 8 probably the way they
I
play.
know, and they'll have to play each other.
No, I look.
Polish guys have the worst luck. It's crazy.
If Jeremy were to beat a guy like Jason, I think it puts him more on the radar. If Hunter beats a guy like Jason, it's a great talking point, but I don't think that it's just enough there. Even though I know he's like on the cusp when it comes to points per se, but it'll really be like it for this area. It's Jason getting out or bust. And if you're Jason, you better get out of here. I know what he is. The guy's big time in this part of the year. You hit the nail on the head there. But I don't know, man. Funnier things have happened.
What impact will hosting his event the week before the U.S. Open
Massive.
have on him?
It depends on how much his support is like. Because if his support is great, I know he's got a wife and team out there at US One. But if his support is great, then it's not going to phase him. But if he's had to shoulder a lot of the logistics of it, then he may be coming into the U.S. Open on fumes because it's a lot to put on an event.
Yeah, heck
right
yeah.
Now,
Yeah, and you know what? The room looks beautiful. The tables look great. And he's been working hard to get ready for this event they're having in Connecticut right now. So, look, Blaine's mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Blaine.
2 paired of teammates.
Blaine,
All right,
prove
moving
me
along.
wrong. Go out there and just destroy Jason Shaw in round 2.
All right, filler, Lucas and Scott Frost on there, Candela. What do you got, Joe?
The intriguing matchup for me is the Lucas and Scott Frost match because Lucas could have found a lot softer landing spot there. Playing Scott Frost, obviously we know Scott's mainly a one pocket player, but I know from playing Scott in some tournaments and stuff, he can play rotation too. It's not his best game, but he can play it. And so Lucas is going up against a good player here in the first round. And I don't really know if he's a heavy favorite in that match. In fact, I'm probably looking at Pick'em in that match.
Who would you bet between Tony and Scott playing rotation?
Tony Chohan?
Yeah.
It's close.
Playing like 9
I think
ball
it's close.
on a 9 table?
That's an interesting concept that we should do. Okay, we should try to get pro players to match up in a game that's the game they don't play. That'd be real funny, right?
Well,
So,
I
you
like
know,
Tony. I like Tony.
have like a 4-man tournament with Justin Hall, Evan Lunda, Scott Frost, and Tony Johan in 9
Oh,
ball.
it'd be Justin Hall and Tony in the final for sure,
Well,
without a doubt. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's pretty close. And I think Scott has a really good chance to win this one over Lucas in the first round. I would not be surprised if Scott won. I'll say that.
I would be surprised if Scott beat Lucas. I would. Lucas is supposed to win
Okay.
there. He better and all the talk and hype that he's getting because of the way he's been playing lately. You better beat Scott Frost, and you better win that next round too against
Well, Frank
probably
Candela is a decent player. I mean, it's not a gimme.
Frank is a solid player for sure out of Italy. Out of Italy, I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park because that's going to be a test, but you better at least get past Scott. You know,
Well, I
go
think
for
you're
it.
underestimating Scott's rotation game.
Look at
But we'll
that. Blaine
see.
says he beat Oi 2 out of 3 sets. Were you racking your own, Blaine? That makes a little bit of a difference. A little difference. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
Blaine would be a good one to ask for, when we were talking about Oi and kind of our take on him. So maybe one day we'll have Blaine on the show and we'll talk about that because, we were saying, Blaine, that he's like the guy that everybody wants to root for, wants to see win a big event and thinks probably should have won some of these events that he's been deep in, but just isn't quite getting there right now. So anyway, obviously in the top, we got Joshua probably making it out of this group.
probably. Would you say
Yeah.
Kim or the field in this group?
I'll take him to make it out of this group.
Everybody
Yeah.
on earth is going to take
Which,
Josh.
by the way, he almost didn't make it to this event. I don't know if you saw the post from Killer Fillers that he just got his visa, like, I don't know, a couple days ago, and they were worried about it not coming in time. So, yeah.
Well, that would have been some news, man. That would have been some news. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Peter. We're 2 Americans, but in case you haven't gotten it, we're in the U.S., pal. All right.
I think
This area.
is Peter saying we don't talk enough about the Europeans?
I would if he does
Bring him on some.
his-
Come on the show sometime, Peter. Fill us in on the Europeans.
Yeah, I mean, I probably have more Europeans on the show than I do Americans, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I try to just, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna give anyone more of a pass because they're European or American or otherwise. If wherever their game's at.
All right, Peter's
Look at
got you on tilt. We got to move on. I like this group of 8. It's very interesting. It could play out a number of different ways, but you have to kind of be pulling for the matchup in the third round of the 2 young players, the American and the German, Shane Wolford and Moritz. That would be a really intriguing matchup in round 3.
I mean, that's the one everybody wants to see. That's the one that.
I mean, you
that's the
can't
one-
sleep on players like Jesse Engel. I mean, he could
No, you
very
cannot.
easily. He
I
could
saw
very
Jesse
easily
play the
win in the
Derby.
second round against Moritz.
I saw Jesse play at the Derby this year. He
He's
was
a good player.
He was playing solid. And furthermore, right above that gentleman from Singapore, Tolian Han, he can play some too. No disrespect to Johnny Rocket, but I like To coming out of that one, and
Yeah.
he's going to play Wolford. Now Wolford has had some pretty solid wins this year over guys like throughout the year. So he better win his first 2. But boy, if it gets to Moritz and Shane Wolford, I know where I'll be that day at 11:30. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that'd be a big matchup there. 2 young players, and I'd be pretty excited to see major Mosconi implications on the American side, not so much on the European side, unless of course Moritz goes on to win the whole thing and racks up a whole bunch of points. But I don't really see him as of yet getting into contention for the Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, probably has to win the event to really, make enough of a splash on there. But he can do it. The way that he's playing right now, that kid can certainly do it. And I know I'll be rooting to see him go very deep in this event. So,
well, speaking of winning the event and making a splash, imagine if Bisterbosch wins this event, right?
well,
If he wins this event, he's pretty much going to be an automatic qualifier. After the way he did in, what was the Spanish Open, finishing second in the Spanish Open?
Is he in, what do you be? So he'd pick up 50 grand. So where's he at right now. Let me see
Pull
here.
it up. Pull it up. I think it would be close. I think he would really throw a monkey wrench into Team Europe. Obviously, he's a good player. No disrespect to him, but I'm sure they weren't really thinking that he would be a qualifier.
Hold on, I'm trying to see here. So Mark is sitting at 35,000. Looks like, yeah, 30. I think. Oh, see, I don't even know how to read this shit because it's like some some are like 2 years, some are like 1 year. I might have to have them talk. Just make a 1 year, and that's it. I don't
Yeah.
want to see 2022 anymore. Like,
Yeah, I
just
hear you.
be done with it. Let me see here. It says updated after the racks room open. Yeah, I don't. I mean, he'll for sure because he got second place in that other event against
Yeah, the
Dang.
Spanish Open.
Yeah, this is for sure going to put him. Yeah, maybe even close to getting the third, if not second. So,
Yeah.
but Tom Staloff right there in that next round, I like him, and I like him coming out of that matchup. Marking him, you got to give the edge to Mark. Down below that, Chang Yu Lung against the German. I think that one's going to be a very close matchup down there, but everyone's going to be having all eyes on Anton for sure.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're going to
Anton,
Anton.
well, Anton, I mean, so we had known about him for a long time and his success in Asia, and now he's starting to show that is success overall, right? He's starting to play well in matchroom events, and I mean, anything short of getting to like the final eight would be a disappointment for him in this event, I would think.
Well, I remember years ago, maybe like maybe in the last like 18 months, everyone was talking about Anton's Fargo, and then you had guys like guys like Darren that would come out and say, the guy's never played an event outside of Asia. How can you be giving him so much respect? And Darren was right because at that point that was the case. You
Yeah,
know, and then Anton comes out, and all you hear throughout the broadcast is, "Oh, he's just a money game player. He's just a money game player." And then
they
he,
say same thing about Dennis.
yeah, but Dennis is more accomplished though.
Well,
So
now he is, but I'm saying that
yeah.
the word on Dennis was he was spotting Efren the eight back when nobody was spotting Efren.
Yeah, but I guess it's like because with Dennis, he was ruthless when it came to playing money games, but he was also a very accomplished, like in his on his resume at that point as well. The guy's won the World Cup of Pool. He's won a lot of things. Where Anton, he had never really traveled outside of Asia, right? I think he got on All Japan one time, but he's been known to beat and gamble with and spot some of the best Filipino players, and that was like the only thing you could really hang your hat on with the kid. And now it's different. Now you're seeing him have a lot of really good success over the last
Yeah,
6 months, where you're thinking that, hey, this guy ought to probably be like, if you were going to ask everyone to rank the players, right? Like, just rank who do you think is going to win. You're not going very far before you get Anton. I would say you're probably going to be in that top four
half a dozen.
category.
Yeah,
No, I think it's probably going to be on that short list, like with guys like Josh and Francisco
give
and
me that
and
list.
and
Give me a list of six that are like your top picks to win the thing.
um,
If you're just going chalk,
yeah. Oh, okay. So
Francisco, Josh,
I'm just
Jason.
taking chalk players in, right? I'm
Yeah,
just taking like name players, right?
yep.
Okay. So Josh, and this isn't in any order, but Josh, Fedor, um, obviously Shane, Francisco, Anton. That's five.
Carlo,
And I
Jason.
might, I might. No, I would. I would put Cole and Carlo before Jason for sure. It'd be a little while before I get to Jason, if I'm being perfectly frank.
Really?
Um, yeah, it would. I mean, it's. I
We
know.
should do a last longer where I take Jason.
Against who?
I don't know. Think of someone.
Oh, I could
Think
think
of,
of.
think of someone you haven't already named that you said you keep going and then get the Jason. And somebody in that group we should do a last longer with.
Well, how about Anton then?
No, because you already said him. It's got to be
So
after
you want
Anton.
so you want me to pick someone? You want to pick you peg him to be up here, and I'm saying he's more like around here. But yeah, you want me to pick someone way down here.
How about
Is what I'm
how
getting
about
at.
Chang?
Hell no, I'm not picking. I think he goes farther than Chang. Chang is another one of them names who hasn't gone deep in an event. I don't even know how long. You know who like give me someone that's decent and I'll bite at it. You know,
Chang's not decent. Okay,
not when it comes to matchroom results.
you're
Like
a
we rank
trip,
players
man.
differently. How
You're a trip.
what has Chang won in a matchroom event lately?
I don't know.
In
Nothing.
any American pool tournament in the last like 5 years, what has Chang won?
Just scroll down. Let's get to the Greek bracket.
No,
We got
because
the
you're saying like
Greek bracket
I'm
coming up
coming out of
next.
nowhere with it. Like it's the guy hadn't won anything, and you're going
Hey,
off of a
seriously,
name.
go down. This bracket is like all guys from Greece. Okay, I don't know how it worked out that way, but this right.
If
Uh,
let's hope they're not conspiracy theorists because they're gonna think Matchroom's out to get them. You know,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because you'll have probably a matchup of the two Greek players in the second round. It's, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? Like, how did the Greek players all end up in this bracket? There's probably 4 of them in the tournament. 3 of them are in this group of 8. They had to look at that and be sick, I would think.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so and all 3 of them, I think, are favorites in their matches. So
For
it's
sure
going
they
to be
are.
kind of interesting. But I'm going to take Kazakis. Kazakis is one of those guys that I think doesn't get the respect that he deserves. I think people,
And you like
kind of.
picking chalk.
I think people kind of have him labeled as a little bit of a dog, or might dog balls at certain times. But I think he's gotten over a lot of that, and he's a great player. He's going to make it out of this group of 8.
He's supposed to make it out of this group of 8, but how much further will he go along after that? That'll be the question. Now, Nick Malai can play pool. Nick is a very great player and a very underrated and does not get the respect that he deserves. He could give Alex a lot of trouble in that second round matchup.
Yeah.
Lucados, Demetrius has been playing very good as well. He'll probably face Khalid.
Tell me your take on Khalid. He's the one that won the junior event last year, right?
Yeah, I think he won like another event out of the Middle East that paid like $250,000.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like
it's going to be like soccer. All the players are going to go to the Middle East.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard Neymar signed a contract. He gets like $1 million for every Instagram post or something. It's crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but I think it's Demetrius is supposed to win against Khalid, but if it went the other way, would you be super surprised? I mean, relative, but it's like, okay, maybe the kid's just kind of taking that next step. Where Demetrius, I think, is probably a favorite. If not like a slight, small favorite on the kid. But if you're Alex, you're supposed to win there for sure. So
yeah. Hey, Charlie Doss says take Sky against Jason and it'll last longer.
That's actually a pretty good bet. Yeah, that is a pretty good option.
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
we could do that.
We can do that.
Yeah, 50.
Wait, Pat, easy, buddy. Don't hurt yourself there.
I'm trying to high roll you.
I know. Yeah, try to high roll me with $50. Let me make sure I'm good for it, Joe. All right, Lechner, Dan, Van Lira, Babika.
Yeah, I mean, we know who you're picking here. You got Max Lechner winning this group for sure. You've never bet against him in your life. I don't know too much about the Vietnamese player in the second round.
The guy who I've never bet against him was also in the final of the U.S. Open last year, big boy.
Yeah, that's true.
And has been a lot more consistent than.
Can he put on a run?
Has.
Can he put on a run like that this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can. I mean, you don't really have results to kind of back it up per se.
What you would say to me right now is based on what? Based on what?
Well, I'm going based off of the fact the guy was in the final of the U.S. Open 12 months ago. I'm going based off the fact that he's still in the World Nine Ball Tour rankings, pretty solid. Guy has form. Matter of fact,
what does finishing second do for him in the Mosconi points? Do you know? Does it get him close?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Is that what you're asking me?
Max, does finishing second or first, does it first obviously, but would second put him close in points?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see. Oh shit, maybe not. There's no way he's way down there.
See,
Where's
the
he at? Oh,
problem,
here we go. So he's right around 53,000. Oh no, yeah, right around 53,000. It looks like. So yeah, of course he'd be like at 70 something. So
and
yeah.
he'd be in the running for auto bid.
Let me see here. Josh Albin. No, no, he'd still be too low. He'd still be too low
So he needs to
behind.
snap it off.
Um, yeah, I mean even yeah, he had to snap it off for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have to snap it off.
So,
But
you know how we do the questions on Patreon? I got a question for you that I want to discuss with you on Patreon. It has to do with the Matchroom points ranking. And so, yeah. So,
what
guys,
what,
tune in. If you're one
what
of our Patreon supporters, you'll
what's the
get to see.
question?
Well, do they need to rethink the points ranking system?
Oh
I
God,
don't
here
want to
we
get
go.
too deep into it right now, but if you think about it, look at the disparity between the Americans and the Europeans in terms of the rankings and the cash made so far, right? And then you have the events where the Americans turn up, but then all the Europeans turn up, and then you have other events where maybe the Europeans don't turn up and the Americans are there and have a chance to kind of win more money without the Europeans being present. I kind of feel like there needs to be a different way to figure out that. You know what I mean? Like, so as an example, if you go to an event that pays 10,000 for first and all the Europeans are there, right? Then as an American player, you have a really tough shot of earning points that are going to make a difference. You know what I mean? As opposed to going to an event where the Europeans aren't there, maybe if there happens to be an event in Europe the next week or something like that. And so they're not going to make the trip over here for a points race. I just think there needs to be like a different way to figure out the points. So let's discuss that on the Patreon and kind of go back and forth on it.
It won't be back and forth. It'll be me dogging on Joey. Okay, so uh, who do
Oh,
you like?
so they
Who do you
came
like?
out with something that you can't even understand because every time you look at the numbers, you're like, is this the 1 year or the 2 year? I don't get it. And so you don't even get it. And I'm suggesting maybe there's
I
a better way to do it. And you're like, I'm just going to dog on you the whole time.
No, it's not. Not everything's fucking personal. Listen, I don't understand the difference between including 2 years is what I'm saying. So if I could just see the 1 year, maybe I am looking at the 1 year and I don't understand how to read it. It doesn't mean that to get rid of it altogether, like you're saying, or to change it, just
I'm not
because I
saying
don't
get rid of it.
understand it, or if you're saying anyway, whatever it is. All right, back to the
Okay,
tournament.
Jason's event. What is it? 64 players?
Yeah,
Okay.
or ish, somewhere around there, whatever it is.
Okay. So Jason's event was 64 players. If you look at the field of that event, to win that event, you're really doing something. Okay. But we've seen other matchroom points events where the field wasn't nearly as strong. So maybe there needs to be a little more sophistication to how the numbers work out rather than just say, we're just going to go by money won, you know? So think about it. That's all I'm saying. And no, I'm not down for participation trophies, Robert Visnick. Not at all. But I'm just saying it should be thought out, I think, instead of just money, my opinion. Okay. I got Max coming out of this group. I who do you think is going to play Max? Third
Van
round.
Leer up. Van
Yeah, I
Leer
like
up.
Van Leer too.
Yeah, I like Van
Yeah.
Leer to get through, but Max not a gimme because that guy from Vietnam can play some,
Yeah.
So I think that one's gonna be a bit of a struggle. But Max is supposed to win there at a minimum, get to that third round. After that, if it is Van Leer or Babika, um, Van Leer I think is going to be a closer matchup for him,
Yeah.
and is going to be a difficult test. So, but everybody knows I love my man Max. So
I
I'm
still
hoping
can't believe I didn't talk to him in Starbucks that day. I can't believe it.
I'm hoping he wins, but it's not the easiest of groups to get out of. That's for sure. It ain't Jason's group, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So all right,
Yeah.
cruising along. We got Oscar Dominguez.
Who's
And
Babkin? It's not ringing a bell for me. And what flag is that?
that's from Romania, I think.
Oh, Romania. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I
makes
think
sense.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think so. Um, but and I've seen the name quite a bit on scoreboards, but I couldn't point him out of a lineup to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So we like Oscar coming out of that top part, but Babkin uh, is going to be difficult for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and if Oscar wants to make any kind of Mosconi Cup run based off his performance at the U.S. Open, you're going to have to win matches like this. And down below,
Yeah.
I
You're gonna
think
have
it's
to come
Alex.
out of this group of 8, I think.
Yeah, I mean at a minimum, yeah, you're going to have to come out of this one.
Yeah. And that's not gonna be easy because Alexa's a player. So
Who picked Alexa
and
on their fantasy draft?
was that you?
That was me.
Oh,
That was me. No,
yeah.
and it really is like if you were to go and rank the players, you're probably going to put Alexa number one. Maybe have Oscar as number two, but Babkin will be right behind him. Uh, you know, Kang Lee maybe after that, but uh, yeah, you're gonna have to Alexa. Like if you're a fan of Alexa, you gotta really love him in this bracket. You do, to at
Yeah.
least come out to get to single elimination, and then all bets are off. But kind of
It's a
like
good draw for him.
yeah, you kind of have to like he's kind of akin to what maybe like a few years ago you thought of Alexa the same way that we think about a guy like Gangflot now,
Hmm.
where a guy maybe like Oliver that year that he went on the run in the World Championships, he beats Shane, puts his name on the map. Then now he's showing more consistency. It's kind of like what these other guys are doing right now. What Alexa's been doing, what a Gangflot can do, given where he had just beat Filler not too long ago and then following that up. So um, you're in a position and you got to love your spot if you're a fan of the kid.
Hey,
So
Melina, we've been going an hour and 40 minutes. Are we gonna have
I
to
know
do a
it's
part 2 on this? We
how
still
much
got
longer do we
quite a
have?
ways to go.
Do we? Do we
Yeah,
still have a long way to go?
we
Holy
really do.
shit! Oh god, I thought we were like close to being done. This has been a really long show, by the way.
Yeah, I think we need to do a part 2 on this, to be honest.
All right, yeah, we're gonna do a show probably tomorrow anyway. So,
Yeah, let's do a show
uh,
tomorrow. I'll let you know after we get back from gymnastics. We'll do another one of these, and then we got to run down the Michigan event and Jason's event too.
yeah, yeah, I like it, man.
This has been fun.
All right, you guys. Oh, Joseph Smith says, "Hell no, keep it rolling." Like I'm B2. It's like 11:30 over here.
Well, I'm
So
here in the hotel with my daughter. I feel really bad. We're hanging out, and then
yeah,
she's got gymnastics tomorrow. So I told her we watch a movie. She'll fall asleep within 10 minutes, but still.
usually right. All right, you guys, stay tuned. Keep your notifications on. The windows open. We will be back tomorrow with more pool stuff, talking Michigan, talking U.S. Open, and all that good stuff. So we'll see you guys.
Talk, and go to Patreon. We'll talk Matchroom points.